Right, so we are discussing the tropism of the plants, and we have already discussed about phototropism and geotropism. So phototropism was the tropic movement of the plant with respect to the light, and geotropism is the tropic movement of the plant with reference to the gravity. So gravitational pull, so that is why it is geotropism, or that is to the ground, not gravitational pull, towards the ground. The third one is thigmotropism. So next one is thigmotropism. Now thigmotropism is the response to touch. Okay, so whenever any particular plant is going to grow any of its parts in the direction of the stimulus of a touch, then it is going to be using the tropism, which is called as thigmotropism. So the growth movement of plant in response to touch stimulus is called thigmotropism. Some interesting responses are seen in response to touch. Plants such as sweet pea, cuscuta and vines have tendrils which coil around other plants in response to one-sided contact or touch. So you always find that the creepers, whichever are growing, they are always going to have some tendrils. These tendrils are just, as soon as they come in contact with any of the branch of another plant or tree, it is going to grow into tendrils, and the tendril is going to wind up that particular. So it is going to stick to the different parts of the other plant, and it is going to grow upwards. So this growth of the tendrils, so as to come in or to hold the other plant properly, is nothing but the thigmotropism. So thigmotropism allows or makes the tendrils grow in the direction of the touch. So in the presence of touch, it is going to start growing. So stimulus is perceived by tendril tips, and then it is transmitted to basal part. So tendril tips are going to stimulate the stimulus, and it is transmitted to the basal part, which will allow the cell elongation to take place and the cell division to take place, and accordingly there will be the growth of the tendril. In this way, the entire tendril becomes sensitive to the stimulus. After receiving the stimulus, tendril starts twinning around the support. So yeah, that's what happens. It's once it is the tip of the tendril is going to feel the touch, and then it is going to transmit it to the base, and then it starts turning around so that it gets firm with the support what it wants. Observe weak stem pea plant growing in the field. The thread-like tendrils twine around the support available in the field for the pea plant. The tendrils provide a well-known example of thigmotropism. So that's what the example they have given over here. So this is thigmotropism. You can see the tendrils over here. In this case also you can see the pea plant. This is the support, which is the bamboo support, which is given in the fields of the pea plant, and there these tendrils are just going to wind up over there to give its support to the plant. So in this way, that is nothing but thigmotropism, that is the tropism towards the stimulus of touch. The next is very important, hydrotropism. Hydro, water, yes, hydrotropism. So the stimulus of presence of water is going to be the direction in which the plant is going to grow, and of course that will be related to the roots, and positive for the roots and negative for the shoot. So the movement of the plant parts in response to water or moisture is called as hydrotropism. When a plant part grows towards the source of moisture, for example the roots, it is said to be positive hydrotropism, positively hydrotropic in nature. The growth of the roots towards moisture ensures that the roots will be near the water available in the soil. Thus, roots are positively hydrotropic. See, roots are going to be positively hydrotropic because roots have a tendency to grow towards the water. So when it is going to growing, it will always be growing towards the water which is there. So that's why we find that roots have got positively, the roots are positively positively hydrotropic. When the plant parts grow away from the source of moisture, it is said to be negatively hydrotropic. So when the plant is going to grow in such a way that it is going away from the water body, that is, if it is going away from the growing away from the water, then it is called as negatively hydrotropic, which is normally the shoot part, which is always going away from the hydrotropic part. Now there is one activity which is shown over here, which is very important. Let us understand that activity. So I'll just take this place. We already understood the hormones properly. I'll take this place. So in this particular experiment, what they have done, activity what they have done is they have taken a particular, so I'll just read it out first. To investigate the effect of water on growth of roots and shoot, take a piece of wire netting or gauze suspended by means of wires. Moist sawdust around 1 inch is placed on the wire netting and some germinating bean seeds are embedded in the sawdust. So what we are doing is we are taking a net, a wire net. This wire net is suspended through the roof or something, and then this wire net, there is a thick layer. I'll just take this as a thick layer, a 1 centimeter thick layer of the sawdust is put over here. Now the main reason to put sawdust is to see to it that the water gets available to the seed initially. So it's a moisture, retaining the moisture. So to retain the moisture in the in this area, you are going to take this sawdust over here, and to this sawdust you are going to take some few germinating seeds. So there will be some few germinating seeds over here. So this is one germinating seed, another germinating seed here, and third germinating seed over here, like this. Now if I see this germinating seed from one side, so if I consider that this is the side view of this thing, so that the seeds are actually over here in the, this is the sawdust part, the seed are actually over here and the growth is going to take place. So these are the seeds. Okay, these are the seeds over here. So you will find that initially the growth is going to take place such that the root shoot system will go right, normally not a problem. Roots are going to grow like this. They are going to go towards the geotropism, that is ground. But then because it is not finding water over here, right, because you can see the water is only in this area where the sawdust is there. The water is there only in this area where there is sawdust. Below that there is no sawdust. So when the roots are going to grow, they are going to grow by two kinds of tropism. One is geotropism and other one is hydrotropism. So by hydrotropism initially they started growing, and geotropism they started going downwards. But then what happened? As they went downwards, they found that it is not having enough water around. So that's why it is seen that in such a condition, this shoot will grow upwards. This root is going to go upwards towards the sawdust. This will grow towards the sawdust like this. So they are going to go towards the sawdust over here. So you can see that in case of the plant, the hydrotropism is much important for the plant than geotropism. अगर geotropism उसको नहीं मिला कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता, but hydrotropism is very important because पानी नहीं मिला तो कुछ भी नहीं कर सकता plant. So that's why, as you can see, so we'll just read this out. So as the seed germinates, the radicle initially grow downwards through the wire netting under the influence of gravity, but soon they start growing upwards towards the moist sawdust, which is the only source of water. In doing so, they grow against the force of gravity. The shoots grow towards or upwards all the time. Shoots are continuously all the time, it is upwards only. But the shoot is always upwards throughout the same, but the root is going to go upwards also. Why? Because of the hydrotropism. So this experiment shows that the roots grow towards water and shoots do not. For the roots, water is more effective stimulus than gravity. So you can see that even though we know that geotropism is also a very important thing for roots, so roots are going to grow in the positively geotropic manner, but in some special conditions like this, it may happen that the root also will develop a negative geotropism and go towards hydrotropism, because for it water content is much more important than the presence of the gravitational pull. So that's why we see that water is more an effective stimulus for the plant rather than the Earth's gravitational force. So this is about the hydrotropism. Now we go to the last kind of the tropism, and that is chemotropism. So chemotropism is, as you can understand from the name, chemical, some chemical compound present somewhere which will help the movement of the plant in that direction. So that is called as chemotropism. Chemotropism is a phenomena of growth of plant organ in response to chemicals. So whenever any kind of a chemical is available to the plant, and due to that chemical, the response, due to the showing the response to the stimulus of the chemical which is acting as a stimulus over there, we call it as a chemotropism. The movement of the pollen tube of angiosperm and gymnosperm towards sugars and peptodes secreted by the neck of the cell of the female gametophyta is an example of chemotropism. See, we very well know that in case of the fertilization of the egg or the fertilization of the flower, we know that on the stigma the pollen grain is going to settle down, and then it goes into the style, and then there is this particular ovule, and this goes down over here. So there is a pollen tube which is going to grow and allow the movement of the pollen grain, or that is nothing but the male gamete, to go into the egg cell. So this movement is taking, so when the movement of the growth of the tube nucleus is taking place, the tube nucleus is going to allow the growth of the pollen tube. So this pollen tube is always going to grow towards the sugar and the peptides which are present in the female gamete over here. The female gamete over here is going to have certain amount of sugar and peptodes over there. This particular chemical is going to attract the growth of the pollen tube towards it. Okay, because there is no pathway as such. It is the pathway which is generated by the pollen tube. So pollen tube is generated by the pollen nucleus. So the pollen nucleus is going to generate this kind of pollen tube as a response to the stimulus, which is nothing but the sugar and the peptides which are present on the female gamete over there. So that's why it is the movement of the pollen tube of angiosperm and gymnosperm towards sugars and peptones secreted by the neck canal cells, over here of the female gametophyte, is an example of chemotropism. The movement of the fungi growing towards the areas richer in food is also chemotropism. So fungi also, you will always find they will always grow in the areas wherein the food availability is much more for it. So that is why they are going to grow in that manner. That is also chemotropism. And the movement of the tentacles of Drosera towards a source of nutrition is also chemotropic phenomenon. So yeah, so Drosera plant, they are the tentacles to attract the insects. So that is also going to be done with the help of the chemotropism, which is the Drosera plant. Okay, so this was about the chapter chemical coordination in plants. So as I told you, the chemical coordination plants is divided into two parts. One are the hormones, the 5 hormones, which can easily be understood and be studied by the table which is given over here. The table which is given here is quite easy to learn. So makes it easy to learn. Of course, you have to read the earlier part also, but for easy learning of the main functions of the different hormones, you can always study from the table over here. And yes, we know the tropism, the different tropism: phytotropism, phototropism, light related; geotropism, gravity related, that is earth; thigmotropism, that is related to the touch; hydrotropism, the water; and chemotropism, the chemicals which could act as a stimulus. So this was about the chapter chemical coordination in plants. Okay. So that is the with this is also the end of the botany section of our syllabus. So we have completed all this all the chapter, that is a plant physiological unit. The unit of plants physiology is already completed with this particular chapter. So we already completed basic biology of the first three things, and then the plants physiology, the next 4 chapters. Okay. Thank you.